Fucking A, Mom! Just send me the 10 grand! Just send the 10 grand, I need it! The class is going to fucking Europe! No, just send me the 10 grand soon! I need it! God damn it! You are watching, CCTV, and this is Brother R.A., the brother who has a lot to say. And, I'm still 57, single, and never married, no kids, and I'm looking for the mother of my children. And if I were to date a white woman or marry a white woman, would she have that kind of background saying something like that? I mean, And just real quick, since I'm on this page, show you 2 years ago, I posted this, and recently, what's the date on that? March 29th, 2019, but the show was from 9/28/16, and they say art of rap freestyle, so that's copyright infringement. Okay, just to bring you up to speed, and voila, I'm here, and I'm still looking at my coloring books and thinking about raising my children, and will there be enough information and distribution of knowledge about what a melanin dominant child needs to know about themselves? Here's another book, Africa, the first Afro-Bet's first book about Africa. And I didn't bring that one. There's another book that says Africa is a continent, not a country. I ended last week's show discussing, I'll read more Tao this week. And last week I did read from the Black Timeline of Massachusetts, the history of white supremacy in the Bay State, includes detailed map of Roxbury slavery landmarks. And I just like that as the symbol. You see the yin-yang symbol, balance. And I read a little bit of call to action, an appeal to concerned black women and men about respect, and men who respect them. Melanin dominant black people, and male and female, do they respect themselves? For most of the show, I will be re-airing this, what black men think. And it's interesting, my chi, my energy leads me to watch certain DVDs. So what black men think, and after I watched What Black Men Think, I watched The Great Debate. And this is an Oprah flick. She put this together, Denzel directed it, and it was about a black down south Texas, Wiley College, debate team that came to Harvard to debate Harvard, and interesting. But let me share this thought with you. Oh, I made reference to some of the media influences growing up, and I definitely have to add the TV ministers Billy Graham, Jimmy Swaggart, Paul Robertson, Jerry Falwell, Jim Baker, and interesting. So we're gonna go from that to the reading of something that the teacher had open in his particular reading in his reading den, if you will. And even before I get there, let me share this picture with you. Okay, so who am I? I'm a black man, a melanin dominant black man, and I'm thinking outside the box of normal. And I'm seeking my queen. And on both sides of she and I are the bishops that move diagonally or slanted. That's the church, right? And then there's the hammer move. So the knight, he can jump over pieces, and if he were to move, he could move here or he could move there. Those would be the only two locations he could move from that position. And this is the same for this. Moves like a hammer. 1 square down, 2 square down, 1 square over, or 2 squares down, 1 square over. The knights can only move, like I said, like a hammer. And the rook is the wall. Move the whole length, but it only moves in a straight line. Move the whole length, but only in a straight line. The queen can move like all the pieces except for the knight. And of course, there are the pawns that can only move. The first move is either 1 square or 2 squares. But after that, it can only move 1 square, and the only way the pawn can take another piece is diagonally. So, in this chess game of life, I'm, who am I? And what am I about? What am I thinking? How am I managing? How am I dealing? And let's bring this up. This was open on Teacher's Den. The wisdom of LAOTSE. I'm not even going to try to say it. I may jack it up. But let's see what this is open to. The 3 treasures. What are the 3 treasures? All the world says, my teaching, Tao, greatly resembles folly. Because it is great, therefore it resembles folly. If it did not resemble folly, it would have long ago become petty indeed. I have 3 treasures. Guard them and keep them safe. Love is first. The first is love. The second is never too much. The third is never be the first in the world. Through love, one has no fear. Through not doing too much, one has amplitude, a reserve of power. Through not presuming to be the first in the world. one can develop one's talent and let it mature. If one forsakes love and fearlessness, forsakes restraint and reserve of power, forsakes following behind and rushes in front, he is doomed. For love is victorious in attack and invulnerable in defense. And I will go ahead and read the next page. The lords of the ravines. How did the great rivers and seas become lords of the ravines? By being good at keeping low. That was how they became the lords of the ravines. Therefore, in order to be the chief among the people, one must speak like their inferiors. In order to be foremost among the people, one must walk behind them. Thus, it is that the sage stays above, and the people do not feel his weight, walks in front, and the people do not wish to harm him. Then the people of the world are glad to uphold him forever, because he does not contend. No one in the world can contend against him. Being like an inferior to people, a distinguished man who can act as another man's inferior is sure to obtain the following of men. The same idea is treated, it goes on about a chapter. The great sea does not object flowing eastward. So now let's continue on to read just a little bit more Tao. I'm going to read page 166 from Dang Ming Tao. Okay? And 166 is totality. Those who consider their path superior are condescending. A parrot who speaks of the totality of the self is absurd. Many paths lead to the summit, but it takes a whole body to get there. Once I met a woman who was a lifelong Christian. She had 2 sons who practiced yoga. She thought that was wonderful, but they arrogantly considered their beliefs to be superior to hers and told her that she was not doing enough for her spiritual salvation. No one has a right to condemn another person's spiritual beliefs. No spiritual system is superior to another. Each one of us should have the philosophy and practices that work for us. We should be happy once we find it. We should help those who are interested in the spirituality we represent. But none of us should behave condescendingly toward others' spirituality. We are all trying to get to the summit of spiritual realization. And there are many valid paths leading to the top. Of course, the view and terrain on one side of a mountain will differ from the other, but the summit is identical no matter what your approach. Whatever your path, all that matters is that you commit yourself totally to following it. Others will do the same. As long as we all climb, each from our own direction, and reach the summit of human spirituality, we can achieve complete totality in our lives. Then all the fracturing discussions of sex, S-E-C-T-S, sex, and different religions become unnecessary. I'm going to go ahead and read meditation. There were like 4 or 5 of these I was going to read, but I can see, well, actually, I think I'm going to read the next 2. Forgive me, well, we're going to get to what black men think, but we won't show as much. My chi, my energy will direct the show to where we need to go. But meditation. Sit still and disengage normal activities. Draw energy from the earth. Emit power from the heavens. Fertilize the seed within. Let it sprout into a flower of pure light. L-I-G-H-T. And let the brightness open the top of your head. Divine light will come pouring in. Your mind is empty. Light seeps into your whole body. Sitting cross-legged with hands clasped as if trying to embrace the brilliant flood. Your skin turns transparent. How can a bag of skin hold divine magnitude? Your last vestiges burn away in a torrent of infinity. Only after indeterminate time do you return. Flesh blood, bone. Were you gone? Or were you never here in the first place? Where is the torrent? It is gone. You've only closed to it once more. The next page I will read is Sage 168 from 365 Tao. Ancient sages lived in forest and wandered from village to village, sharing openly, teaching the people without profit or ownership. There were many more holy aspirants in ancient times. These men and women cultivated themselves in the mountains or These men and women cultivated themselves in the mountains or wandered among forests and streams. When they came to a village and saw that there was some knowledge that could be imparted to the people, they did so openly. Once they taught what was necessary, they disappeared, knowing that others would follow behind them. They did not establish religious schools, temples, or philosophies bearing their names. They knew knowledge did not belong to anyone. It could not be owned, parceled out for profit, or withheld selfishly. Nowadays, many people regard knowledge as a mere commodity to be packaged, marketed, and sold. Their interest is not in the benefit of others' souls, but for their own pocketbooks. For example, one contemporary master requires 1,000 ounces of gold before he will teach a single technique. We live in a world where the selfless sharing of knowledge is no longer a virtue. The more knowledge that you give away, the more will come to you. The more you hoard, the less you will accumulate. Be compassionate to others. What do you have to fear by being open? Melanin dominant black man, single, never married, no children, looking for the mother of my child at 57 years of age. What do I have to offer? Let's continue Armor 169. Yeah, I don't like that shot. Let's come back to this shot. Armor. Ripe fruit. Ripe fruit. Crisp greens. Live grain. Vital roots. Tender meat. Spring water. Growing essence nourishes your own. Essence alloyed with breath makes you flexible but hard. The sage's body is armored. The sage is impervious to death. Those who follow Tao speak of 3 treasures in the body: essence, breath, and spirit. Essence is the biochemical aspect of your body, nurtured by the food you eat and regulated by the quality of your hormones. Therefore, all your food should be packed and glowing with energy. Eat food as close to its source as possible. Pray before you eat. For everything that you take, whether plant or animal, is living. You must consume to survive. But when you die, knowledge that you will acknowledge that you will become food for others. You must consume to survive, but when you die, acknowledge that you will become food for others. To build the breath, work and exercise diligently. Build stamina and discipline yourself. You will gain great flexibility combined with hardened flesh. And you will be graceful. Immunity to minor physical traumas as well as many kinds of illnesses will be yours. The ultimate training of the spirit begins with the question of death. The sages see beyond dying. They must die. They also know that nothing is lost because no one owns body or mind anyway. Those who follow Tao safeguard themselves and live their spirituality with a realistic appreciation of death. The establishment of essence, breath, and spirit is like wearing armor. And the travails of the world mean nothing. Alright, I dramatized that for 30 minutes. Okay, so we did that. And let me read this real quick. We shall overcome when we recognize our worst enemy is ourselves. We stay individuals as opposed to stay individuals, which means inwardly divided. We don't see inwardly as one or as I. One divine energy, one with this verse, the universe. As one with this verse, what you think matters. Tapping into mind over matter. Ooh, I'm supposed to read Censorship and Masters too. Guess we'll have to get to that. Oh, and the Pointer Sisters, We Are Family. And the other song, You Are Shining Star. And Love Won't Let Me Wait. So I have to do what I need to do right here, right now, and go ahead and play What Black Men Think. I hope I don't have copyright infringement for this issue.
What do black men think? What do black men think? What do black men think? Journey with me as we traverse this thing called time to the place where the transcripts of conversations between men reside, where new dreams are born as soon as old one dies, and you can witness the thoughts of black men coming alive. But why? Why? I mean, why X, why when you already know the answer? When you already have the cure for you, the architect of the cancer that has spanned nearly 5 decades, leaving the black family cleaving to its last lifeline. With the black community as the perpetrator and the black man doing the time, reminding himself that every thought-provoking pontification points to the 1960s as the era when things begin to change, and for better or worse, all depending on from which side of the tracks you came. See, the same incident can be viewed from many different angles. While we were celebrating our newfound freedoms, the rest of the world was having chains put up on their ankles, unable to celebrate with us in our hard-earned voting rights, in our proud to be dashiki-wearing black power rights, in our yes, of boss, you know we is finally free rights, and in our we ain't never leaving this ghetto, what in the world is white flight? Left alone to fight, but still carrying around an air of defiancy, dying to get others to see that we were willing to rest in our grave before we were denied the right to be free. And see, what is authority to a people that just felt that some things were innate? It's not our fault that the powers that be couldn't recognize the gift that had been delivered from heaven's gate, and we couldn't afford to wait, so things had to become flipped upside down. The vocalized leadership had to become silent, and the silent minorities had to begin to scream out loud that freedom, freedom, freedom! But while freedom was being screamed from the lips of the oppressed, it was being cursed underneath the breath of those who handled America's American Express, because the president didn't want to go into debt attempting to honor the X upon which that was pressed, and it's no coincidence. Why do you think it's called the Amex Black Card? Because we're more powerful than any nation, and we're more numerous than the stars. See, we are the heirs to the promise, though we have been denied. Our account has been suspended and our card has been declined, the whole time assuming that what's good for them has got to be good for us. Leaving some of us not to question the destination of the bus that we boarded during the me, myself, and I fad of the 1960s. That might be a new phrase to some, but for others, it's like it's been stuck on repeat. For see, in 10 short years, we did more damage to ourselves as a people than any bull-whipping, dog-sicking religion that was birthed out of pure evil, and that was merely just a preview. The featured presentation was many years in the making, A manifestation of the most devious plot to ever take place when the black man forgot that that was more than just a title, but it was an accurate description of the individual who lived deep down inside you and defined you by your actions, not the sound of your words making love to the wind. So my friend, it's time to stop playing pretend and let the true living of black men finally begin. So commence to swallowing this pill if that's the only way that you can take it. Or inject it into your veins so that your blood cells can embrace it, erasing that binary code that was formatted on that plantation and replacing it with the one that will relieve you from this game, which was designed to only end when you have been eradicated. See, time is of the essence, and no more of it can be wasted. See, for every second lost, someone else's freedom is being denied. And if a co-signer for their freedom is needed, then we are willing to place ourselves on their dotted line until freedom is as commonplace as 1 nickel and 2 dimes, and until every thinking black man is not only free in his body, but he is also free in his mind. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty!
I bereave every day to try to find a better way and use my gift of life in what I do and say. But some days it gets a little bit colder. I feel like I'm a little bit older. Gotta keep on moving if I'm gonna get my way. Wherever I end up, I'm gonna make it feel like home. Cause man, I got to tell you, life's about moving on till you're satisfied, yeah. My life's had twists and turns. Believe me, every now and then it burns. But I'm living in much tougher skin from what I've learned. Cause everything leads up to now. We always work it out somehow. You pay your dues, be patient, things will come around. Wherever I end up, I'm gonna make it feel like home. Cause man, I got to tell you, life's about moving on until you're satisfied, yeah. I wanna speak my mind if that's okay with you. Maybe we could vibe and listen to this groove. Just feel good tonight.
More than 100 years ago, Harriet Tubman was quoted as saying that if I could have convinced more slaves that they truly were slaves, I could have freed thousands more. As you sit there in awe and wonder, questioning your ancestors' inability to be aware of the tragedy of their own circumstance, this I tell you, and I tell you to be true, that 100 years from now, your descendants will look upon you with the same disdain, questioning, how could you have let this happen? How could you have bought into the false castigations that keep you from one another? You sit idly by and watch your media distort your images. You know that the government stratifies you. You know that the black leadership exploits you. And you choose to do nothing. Or maybe you don't know. After today, there shall be no more excuses, because after today, you will know. Of 10 of you, 5 shall choose to do nothing. 3 shall not understand or comprehend this message. 1 of you will be so enraged that you will protest in the streets. 1 of you will grasp and begin to do something to affect that change. My question moving forward is, which one are you?
So
on the real. What?
You gave me the sociology professor's answer.
Okay.
First time.
All right.
Okay.
No. So I feel you.
Okay.
So, but what I'm saying is,
I understood you.
no. But what I'm saying, really, is that well, that's the Diplo speak. The real deal is that with us, with black people right now, we have the highest divorce rates. We have the highest over 40-year-old single rates. We have the lowest marriage rates, the highest out of wedlock birth rates. What I'm saying to you is that in 40 years, because one generation ago we didn't look like this. In 40 years, basically, black men and black women have kind of turned their backs on each other. It's almost to the point of like an undeclared civil war.
I think it's just a negative overall view of African American men.
They've been locked up, or they've been on drugs, or they've got a whole bunch of baby mamas. When you find a man, sometimes he's got kids. He's got plenty of kids.
We're 24-year-old men and we can't find a decent woman without a child.
They don't take care of their kids. They don't take care of home. They don't take care of the woman that they're with. They just don't step up. They don't do what they say they're gonna do.
They got a selfish mentality.
They look at me like, oh, you got a nice car, you must got money, you feel me? They're not looking at me for myself, you feel me? They're looking at my car.
There's some good brothers out there that's got a job, got a good education, that's doing something. They're gonna have a lot of females. A lot of them think they thugs. Instead of telling the truth, they lie about little things. They'll tell you they're doing something, but they're not really doing it.
Attitude problems.
They're ignorant.
Being disrespectful became sexy to them.
See my dog right there? Get her. That's what niggas is, right there.
Some people will say that from birth, black men and women are just designed to clash, and that is so far from the truth. Because when you examine black babies, you start to see, especially as they get older, become toddlers, and as they, get ready for preschool and start to go through first and third, you start to see like roles coming naturally. But what you don't see is just a natural battle.
Through the 60s, there was a message that got put into us that we subscribed to. It was political, it was philosophical, and it was a spiritual ideology that we took in, we incorporated into us. And that message was not congruent with the messages that we had subscribed to, or the tenets we had subscribed to up until the 60s.
We had morals, high morals. We had standards, high standards. There were things that we just did not do as a community, as a group of people.
We have to hold our heads up, get an education, get economic independence on our own, not rely on handouts and welfare and the white man.
The tradition of black self-determination, belief in education, and holding our families together. Of black men saying, you know what, we are men. We stand tall in the face of whatever kind of degradation you want to throw at us.
The way you were supposed to move, the way you were supposed to dress, the way there was a part of you that was supposed to be an American first and black second.
In some ways, I think we are the truest Americans, black men, because I think we have demonstrated a belief in the ideals, the principles of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, a belief in the law of the land and the freedoms, and we've been tested time and again.
We kept our pride and dignity in place. No matter what went on, from the water hoses, from Alabama to Mississippi, all the way through the South. Whatever happened, we kept saying, we will make it. We'll make this work for us, and we keep our hands high, and we'll walk down the street and say, you guys are wrong, and we're gonna show you we're wrong. And no matter what you do to us, doesn't matter, you guys are wrong.
Not only dignity, but respect for each other, things that were taught by our parents. And I think that is one of the reasons why so many of us have been successful.
Back in the 60s, America was not operating as America should have, meaning equality for all. And in order to change that, you're right, the black community as a whole had to have a higher moral standard to question a system of government that was operating immorally.
The Democrats controlled the Senate, the Congress, and the presidency for 80 years, and not one single piece of civil rights legislation was passed in 80 years. Now, wait a minute, what's going on here?
In 64, 65, the civil rights movement won its victories, and which were civil rights. We got Civil Rights Bill 64, Voting Rights Act of 65. Together they represent probably the greatest social legislation ever written anywhere in the world.
If you read some of the civil rights legislation, you think, wow, this is truly the great society. As it was written, it's just like every play is designed to score a touchdown. I mean, this one was designed to score some touchdowns.
In the sense of protecting the rights of an aggrieved minority. You cannot get legislation written more powerful, actually beautiful in a sense.
The victories of the civil rights, the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s were won through an adherence to and reference to the founding principles.
Somewhere along the civil rights movement, things got tipped over.
At the end of the civil rights era, and I submit that the civil rights, as was defined and fought for, ended in 64 at the signing of the act. 82%, 87%, 82% of the black households were two-parent married households. 40% of those households are business owners.
Following the civil rights victories of 64 and 65, what happened in the next 10 years that got us off track?
What has happened since 1964 until present day, November 8th, 2006?
Well, you know, before the civil rights movement, before the civil rights laws were passed on the books, 81% of American black households had a mother and father. During the 60s, something changed. If it feels good, just do it. That you are the judge of your own morality. You make the choices that you want to make.
We talk about the greatness of America and American institutions, American idealism, American character. The retort is that all of that greatness is stained with the history of racism, bigotry, sexism, and oppression. And so they have no moral authority. They don't speak to us. And we now need to destroy them and rebuild them now without that stain. So what ends up happening is, and again, it's traditional American institutions. Out of that comes the free love, sexual revolution.
In the 60s and 70s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll were part of the rebellion against all authority. We challenged everything from the polite middle class conventions to the most basic rules of conduct. And we didn't just question the rules that didn't make sense to us, we defied them.
To springboard and question anything in authority. It's almost like they question up into their parents. If you saw the smirk on the guy's face, they rejoiced in this. It was a chance for them to say that anything that was in a position of authority was wrong. North becomes south, top becomes bottom, left becomes right, east becomes west, but more importantly, right becomes wrong in their eyes. So they put themselves in this type of position by conjoining or lining themselves up with our questioning of America's morality.
So that's the black civil rights movement. We took it. But we lost that momentum when the larger civil rights movement came in to dovetail with our civil rights movement. Now it's a bigger civil rights movement. Now we're looking at, again, not black people, we're looking at civil rights as a whole for the country. And we got lost in that.
I just feel like we completely lost it.
The free love, the free drugs, the free all this stuff. So that was our perception and our picture of what they were doing.
They have to be careful. They have to realize that what goes for whites may not go for them. They may, so that they have to watch their behaviors.
A lot of our institutions have been turned upside down. We are so, in many ways, mis-socialized. We're going backwards in a number of ways.
The post-civil rights movement, which was not an embrace of those same institutions that had supported us through slavery, through Jim Crow, into the victories of the civil rights movement, suddenly we turn our back on them.
Basically, the baby boomers of the 1960s took the message of we and flipped it into me, me, me.
The Jerry Springer effect is a direct result of the 60s, the me, myself, and I generation. We're defined by our status in society, meaning our professional status, what kind of house we have, what kind of car we drive, what kind of trophy wife we have. The problem is that as a people, we miss is that we also elevate ourselves by denigrating others. Okay? A perfect example of that is we watch The Simpsons, we watch American Idol, we watch Jerry Springer. Bottom line, you see these idiots on TV, we feel better about ourselves.
It's like one was hanging with a bunch of friends that was that bad bunch of friends, you know, that bunch of friends that did things that you know you weren't supposed to do, and you still hung with them and did those things anyway, and you were caught up in situations. Before you knew it, you were the one suffering more than any of your friends were.
1965 to 1970 ruined black community.
As far as the black people are concerned, we were the most negatively affected by the late 1960s.
As if the social and cultural upheavals of the late 1960s did not provide enough challenges for the black community, yet still another time bomb awaited, a political solution.
Now here you have, in 1965, the President of the United States making a statement that you can't take someone who's behind in a foot race and just bring them to the starting line and expect them to compete. Basically saying America is henceforth obligated to lift up black America.
If you beat people down for 350 years and then all of a sudden say things are a lot more okay than they used to be, you are free to compete, then of course people are going to be scared. The identity does not allow you to get up and make the most of yourself as easily as you might.
Well, here we are, a people who've been oppressed for 4 centuries. All of a sudden, the guy who oppressed us says he's going to lift us up.
When a black family is denied a mortgage because of their race, it is up to white people to speak up. It's not a diminishment of my privilege or power. It's an enhancement of my privilege and power to speak up and say he ought to get the same treatment as I get.
The profound mistake we made was to begin to believe in him and that government rather than in ourselves.
Who do you believe in? So, I'm just sharing. We will continue that. I only have about 5 minutes left. And this is 20 minutes and 32 seconds into the show. And I have 6 minutes left on air. And just making notes to myself for next week so we know where to begin. But I wish to share some RA thoughts. And can y'all see that? Here, let me show you. The 5 elements of the universe, symbols of energy, movement, change, and development. You see the solid yellow line creates, the dotted yellow line overacts, the blue line destroys, the blue dotted line insults. And which element are you? And just keep a mental thought of that in your head. But as I made reference to meditating or meditation in movement, and I believe each one of the 108 different postures have a spiritual significance to our growth and our development as we meditate in practicing regularly and delving deep within your own spirituality. Why would you depend on an energy or a source outside of yourself? That doesn't make sense. And, you know, being Brother R.A., walked down the hall, you know, back to the second grade, graduated finally in 1980, and I thought I should have graduated in 79, and I had to go see the therapist, and what's wrong with him? Oh my God. And now, after questioning white philosophy and white thought, interviewing Transformation of America, the true life story of a CIA mind-controlled slave on WMBR 88.1 with more black resistance, then all of a sudden I come up with seizures. What's wrong with me? Am I a divine energy? Am I tapping into myself? Am I being consistent? Am I delving deep enough into who I am and sharing knowledge? And so on and so forth. Am I doing what I need to do to put the knowledge out there so people will think, I'm real black, so you dumb motherfuckers will think. No, that's insulting. I can't be like that. But I'm just sharing knowledge and putting information out there. I got 20 seconds left. And all I can say is George Clinton think it's not illegal yet. I've been your host, Brother